Hi, this is Steph with Belladonna Dyes, and today's project is going to be a peacock or a spider. Call it whatever you'd like, but I'm leaning more towards the peacock on this one. You want to start by smoothing out as many wrinkles as you can, and then I'm going to center the shirt using the sleeve inside the other sleeve technique. This is a Gildan 2XL ladies cut V-neck. I love these shirts. This is what I prefer to wear. So you want to start by figuring out where your center is. So if you watch me, I sort of grab it on its side seams and then kind of flip it out in front of me. And then I tuck one sleeve down inside the other sleeve. I line up all the seams along the shoulder, along the underarm. This one has side seams. And then I just spend a lot of time smoothing out the wrinkles and trying to get everything nice and lined up. Now what this is doing, it's going to create symmetry in your pattern. So right there, that's the back of the shirt flat against the table. I'm going to then pull the top of the shirt over on top of the back. So what it does is that symmetry. So from left to right, you're going to have a mirror image. And then when it comes to your saturation, the front will have even saturation and the back will be even saturation. Most tie-dye patterns start out this way. Now, it takes a little while sometimes. Some shirts can center really quick, like in just a minute. Some shirts take me 5 or 10 minutes because, no two shirts are sewn perfectly. So just really take your time with this. Being that it's the foundation of your project, if you can get this step done really well, then the rest of the project should come together and look really nice at the end. All right, now for this project, things do sort of matter. So notice how I have the sleeves to the left side of my table, and I have the top of the shirt, like the front of the shirt is facing up. And then I turned my modified fork clockwise. I know it looks kind of backwards, but because the pleats are looking like they're going counterclockwise, but the original spin on the spiral was going clockwise. What this is going to do, if you're making an actual spider, it's going to make the spider look like it's crawling down the shirt. It just is sort of more aesthetically pleasing. And if you're making a peacock, it makes your peacock feather look like it's at the top of the shirt, which you'll see at the end. And I learned this from Crystal Wilson. You'll know her as Uniquely Yours One. She made me pay attention a long time ago as to which direction my sleeves were going or facing, and it does make a difference at the end results. Okay, so now I'm just securing my spiral by using my favorite rubber bands in the color green, and you will find a link down below in the description box for these rubber bands and everything else that I use for tie-dye, so I recommend that you check that out. Also, I have found microwave splatter guards from a different company, and I will put the link down below for that as well. So I have an upcoming video where I use the new splatter guard, so we can take a look at it, down the road. Now, these are silicone cake molds, and they are like my tie-dye best friend. I recommend that you order as many sets of these as you can afford at a time. I think I have maybe 6 or 7 or 8 sets of these. I use them constantly. I can make up, 5 spiral shirts at a time because I have enough to use. So I love them, but definitely try to get yourself some of these. They are the best. All I do is wash them off with some dish soap and then let them dry. If they look really kind of messy, then I just pop them in the dishwasher. They're amazing. And when I'm applying them to my shirt, I try to go with the direction of the spiral. Now this one was a little bit too large, so I just simply secured it by using a paper clip that I got from the dollar store. I'm using a washable marker to mark out my pattern. This is not a necessary step. You can go off your rubber band pattern if you want, but the rubber bands don't always necessarily land on the shirt exactly where I want to place the dye. So that's where the washable marker comes in very handy. And for this project, I'm using Dyespin's Dark Horse dyes. This is my first time using these colors, so I'm super excited to see what they're gonna do. I get asked quite a bit about ice dyeing, and does ice dyeing use more dye than liquid dyeing? And my answer usually is, well, it's like comparing apples and oranges. They're both fruit. So if you watch how much I'm taking up in my spoon before I go to sprinkle it on the shirt, I'm just taking little bits at a time. So when you mix liquid dye, it takes 1 cup of water and it takes 2 teaspoons of dye. And sure, you can probably make a couple of shirts with 1 cup of water. I mean, depending upon the colors you choose and all of that, right? But here's the thing for me. I am not a liquid dyer. I prefer to do ice dyeing because ice dyeing creates variation in the dye, and it's just the method that I like to use. So when I mix up 1 cup of water with 2 teaspoons of dye, I'll usually just make maybe 1 shirt, and then the dye ends up sitting off to the side and going to waste. And after a couple of weeks, the dye is no longer good, really, and so I end up pouring it down the drain. So I'm wasting a lot of dye by pouring it out. So that's why you have to find what works best for you. Does ice dyeing use more dye? Maybe just a little tiny bit. But then again, not really, not if you're pouring it down the drain and wasting it. So if you're brand new to dye dyeing, I definitely recommend that you try the liquid dyeing and the ice dyeing and find, what works best for you, what you like. I find liquid dye to look very flat and solid, whereas the ice dyeing, like I said, it has a lot of variation and just beauty and different colors and color splits. So just have fun learning and playing around. Next, I give the project a quick little sprinkle of soda ash for good measure. I'm going to be adding a lot of ice to the project, and there's going to be just a lot of melted ice water. So I just want to make sure to try to help the pH in the fabric of the shirt stay up around 10.5 to 11. Now I'm adding ice to this project. Even though it's a twofer, I'm adding ice to it just to sort of help the colors get going on its own. So the project up on top, I just did a video on that, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And that is Wild Garden from Dark Horse Dyes. It's a beautiful color, you guys. So what's going to happen here is all of that ice from the project up above and this project, all of the ice is going to melt and make this beautiful muck water. And I'm just going to let the project down below soak up all that gorgeous muck water and hopefully maybe get some spider-like looking lines. Next, I set the project aside and I let it batch at 70 degrees or higher, and it was the middle of summer, so it was much higher than 70 degrees. But I let it batch for the full 48 hours. That is what I like to do with my projects. By letting it sit longer, and especially when you're working with blues, the soda ash raises up the pH in the shirt, and then the procion dye bonds with the natural fibers in the cotton shirt. And the longer, it has to do that, the more dye is going to go into the shirt rather than down the drain. Now this was sitting in muck water, so it's really wet even after the 48 hours. But I've been opening my projects before rinsing them out, and I haven't noticed any issue, but you find what works best for you. So when it comes to the rinse out process, I like to start by using cold water. That's going to rinse away any soda ash that might still be reacting within the fabric. With a dark project like this, I could have probably just went right straight to the hot water, but I'm on autopilot at this point, right? So I rinse until I get that soda ash out, and then I increase the water up to hot, and I rinse until the water runs pretty much clear. And while I'm doing this, I have the washing machine pre-filling with hot water and Curolon. So from here, I take it to the washing machine, and I like to do hot water cycles using Curolon, which is a professional textile detergent. And then I will do a final hot water cycle using Milsoft, and Milsoft is a professional fabric softener. And I get both of those from Dharma Trading Company, and you will find the links for them down below in the description box. It just makes it easy for you to find. Then I'll put the project in the dryer, and I'll iron it, and we'll come back and we'll see the results. Well, here it is, guys. Here's our peacock / spider two-fer after it's been washed and dried, and I think the shirt turned out really beautiful. You see why I lean more towards calling it a peacock, because I see that sort of round upper peacock shape, like of the peacock feather, and I don't so much see an actual spider. So depending upon the dye colors that you choose to use, you could make either or. Like, it's really more stained glass looking than an actual spider. Also, spiders are better done when you're using liquid dye, and I have videos on those, so if you want to see what I'm talking about with the spider tie-dye, go check those out. You can kind of see the spider in there, like the muck lines, those kind of darker purple lines that are kind of fanning out. That came from sitting in the muck. I'm not seeing a lot of the wild garden on this, because the muck water that came from the shirt up above. I do definitely recommend these Dark Horse dyes. They're really nice dyes, quality dyes like all the other dye companies, and I really like the fact that they are designed to split. Like, the whole purpose is to get splitting colors. So I'm definitely going to have to do these two colors again alone so we can see exactly what they're capable of. But they're beautiful colors. So I will put a link down below in the description box for this Dark Horse dyes. It's Dyespin and their Dark Horse line. Many of you already have these colors, but I definitely recommend them. So overall, I'm really pleased with the way this shirt turned out. What do you guys think? Please leave me some comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a thumbs up, and click the bell and set it to all. That way you get notified of future uploads. And remember, have fun tie-dyeing!